When I was a fat little kid in middle school, I first decided to get into reading comics for the very first time. I was reading Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, all these mangas. I read some other stuff too at the time, and then finally I wanted to start reading the classics, the superhero American classic comics. So I came across All-Star Superman right here, All-Star Superman, and the very first thing that I thought when I opened it is that Superman, he looks insanely zesty, and he's trying to hold in a fart, or he just released a fart. That's what I thought of it. I put it down. I never read it ever again, until now. Okay, now from that fat little kid in middle school, I'm now a fat grown adult, and I must say that kid was a freaking idiot. All-Star Superman, without a doubt, is a masterpiece of a comic. It is incredible in all aspects of its story. It celebrates. It not only is a tribute to Superman, who he is entirely, but it tells an incredible, beautiful story, a human story about spending time with those we care about and doing the best we can to help others. Now, before I begin, of course, as always, spoilers, and I'm going to recommend you guys read this first before hearing about the spoilers, because it's a really good story, and I actually recommend it. So, the main story is that Superman basically gets super cancer. Okay, he gets really close to the sun, and he gets a cell cancer or whatever, and so he has a very limited amount of time to live. All right. This type of question, I feel like it's very the theme itself is very human, as in that we as people, we don't have a lot of time here on this planet, and so that begs the question: what would you do? What would you do if you had that time left? And in the case of Superman, right? Well, he wants to live the best life he could possibly live. He wants to do the best he can to help other people, because that's what Superman personifies, right? He amplifies himself even more with as little time he has left, right? Not only does it pay tribute, right, it kind of showcases who Superman is entirely. Superman, he's a symbol of hope. He helps people, he protects people, and most importantly, he loves people, right? That's what it's all about, and it's shown very, very beautifully through the story of All-Star Superman. And while the message and the tribute is really, really good, and it's absolutely beautiful, it doesn't mean there's not bad stuff that I think kind of made me a little bit annoyed. Not the worst thing in the world, but there's still stuff to talk about here. Number one, obviously, I'm going back to my middle school days. Is that I think the art style is kind of bad. I don't know, man. I know art is subjective, and I know that's up for interpretation. I just think the art style of Superman is bad to the point where I start laughing about how goofy some of the stuff looks. First things first, obviously Superman. It's not terrible. It's just that I think one part that was very strange is that Clark Kent was fat, or at least in some parts. I know they at the ending they show he's slouching, but he looks like he's fat. It's just kind of funny. I don't see Superman as a fat person. I expect him to be at least I don't know, chills a little. It's just kind of funny to see. And I think at one point, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think at one point, one of his coworkers calls him fat, which bro, he's Superman. What? I don't know. So Clark Kent being fat, that was one thing too, and of course the most legendary page in all the comics has to do with Lex Luthor. Okay. Oh, good lord. Okay. Anyway, but the other things that I kind of have issues with is that while paying tribute to the story of Superman, it has a lot of stuff with the story of Superman in it, right? It's stuff that can be lost on new readers. I, for myself, am introducing myself to the comic genre. I've been getting into the comics for 3 months now. I really wasn't into it, except for in middle school when I read anime and manga, right? So some of the plot points, they seem very overwhelming and very strange, very weird. It was, I relate it to old lady syndrome, and what I mean by that is if you recall I don't know, you go watch a movie, like the old Superman, the classic one, you know, really, really good. But then I go and watch it with my mom, the new one with my mom, and she's like, Superman has a dog? I'm like, just watch the movie, Mom. You know, but that's kind of the idea. That's kind of the idea, is that like sometimes readers who only know the basics of Superman are going to be really, really confused. Namely, for me, that was kind of hilarious how weird it was Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, for some reason, is a spy that lives with a bunch of aliens on the moon. Okay? So, if you know the normal story of Superman, Jimmy Olsen is just a reporter that works with Clark Kent. I don't know why he's on the moon. I don't know why he's working with aliens. I don't know, like, what it has to do with anything. Like I said, it could be to the old lady syndrome, or like the ignorance behind me not understanding, but that was just one thing I thought was hilarious. Of course, it alludes to other stuff too at the very end. They kind of tease the making of a new Superman character, which is like, oh shoot, do I have to read that now as well? Which I think is just an issue with comics in general, is that they tend to branch off and split off everywhere. You know, even after the story's over, they want to continue the story, which I don't like that. I think that's milking the product. But still, those issues in general do not outweigh the good in this story, and that's why I think it, you know, this shows how important it is to have good storytelling. Okay, you can have the coolest designs, the coolest characters, you know, the all that type of stuff, but if it has a bad story, it's overall, I'm not gonna like it. All right, and I'm trying to get into this type of stuff. So if I'm trying to get into this type of stuff, I don't think other people are gonna like it either. You know, but like I said, the story is so good, I don't even care about these issues. They're not that big of an issue. All-Star Superman is a masterpiece. It is genuinely such a good story. It's a feel-good story. It is a amazing send-off of Superman. Very similar to like the Death of Superman, which is a historically important comic in Superman's arc. However, the Death of Superman showcases who Superman is physically, what he can do physically, right? He's a defender of the world. He defends people, he protects people. That's what the Death of Superman shows. All-Star Superman shows who Superman is inside, what his spirit is inside. It's personified because he has so much little time left to spend with people, that he wants to make the best he can to help others, to protect people, and to be an overall light of hope across the world. And that's why I give it a 5 out of 5. I recommend it highly, and please support stories like this. This is going to help us encourage good writing, encourage good writers. And with that being said, 5 out of 5, Toad out.